Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video we're going to start collecting Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're going to take a look at the Vanguard box set for the Lumineth Realm Lords and how we can use this box set to start a Lumineth Realm Lords army. In this video we're going to go through, talk about all the units that come inside the box set, talk about how they act on the tabletop, before looking at some other units we can use to expand upon this box set. We'll finally finish off the video with a little sample army list of 1,000 points for you to use as some inspiration for starting your own Lumineth Realm Lords army using the Vanguard box set. And so, the contents of the box set. First of all, we get a character model in here, the Sigmar Cathalar. That is a cool model you can see there with the nice veil. There are some really cool painting tutorials out there for helping achieve this effect on the model. If you are a little worried with the painting and all of that, don't stress, there's some fantastic tutorials, Warhammer TV, and also some of the old Lumineth Realm Lords battle tomes have some great tips for it. Now, 5 up save, 5 wounds. They are a 1 cast and 1 unbind wizard, and they've got the Deep Thinker's rule, which most scenario characters will get, where once per battle in your hero phase, when this unit attempts to cast its first spell in that phase, it can say it's automatically cast with a casting value of 9, though it can be dispelled. And it can't be modified in any way. So pretty cool, especially if your opponent's not got any magical abilities. Now, a cool thing with the Scenario Cathalar is its Absorb Despair rule, where once per phase, if a friendly unit uses Aether Quartz Reserve while it's within 18 inch, wholly within that is, of any friendly units with this ability, you can save this unit will absorb the negative energy. If you do so, you don't subtract 1 from the unit's bravery characteristic, because you do suffer a -1 penalty to your own bravery when you use your Aether Quartz. Instead, you can pick an enemy unit within 18 inch of this unit, and if you do so, you subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of that unit as they take on your despair instead. It then has its own War Scroll spell called Darkness of the Soul. Casting value 7 and range of 18 inch. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inch, and then you roll 2d6 each time that unit tries to make a move, run, retreat, charge, shoot, or fight. Before the action is made, if the roll is greater than that enemy unit's bravery, they can't make the action in that phase. So a pretty solid start with a really useful character. Now, the first unit we've got here around are the Vanguard Blade Lords, and we get 5 of them in this box set. Vanguard Blade Lords are really cool. First of all, 2 wounds each and a 4-up save. They've got a couple of different ways they can attack. They can either choose to just flat out do some mortal wounds, or they can get a bunch of extra attack when they attack into enemy hordes. A big rule for them, though, is the Guardian rules, where before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly scenario unit, aka the Cathalar in the box set, instead of making a ward roll or wound or mortal wound save that would be allocated to that scenario unit, if the friendly units with this ability are within 3 inch of the scenario unit, you roll the dice and on 2+, they take the wound instead, though they can't negate it in any way. The other 2 units we have in this box set are the Vanari Aurelin Wardens and the Vanari Aurelin Sentinels. These are the standard base troops for the army. Now, they've both got a 1 wound, and they've got a couple of different saves, 4 on the Wardens and a 5 on the Sentinels, but their big thing is they've got Sun Metal weapons, and the Blade Lords do have this as well. Every time you roll a 6 to hit, they will do a mortal wound, and the attack sequence will end. The Sentinels have a couple of different ways they can shoot their bows, either getting a longer range with less power, or shorter range direct shots, more power with some range. And both of those units can also use a spell, because they're wizards, so long as they've got 5 more models in the unit, called Power of Haish, which turns those mortal wound attacks from these Sun Metal weapons working on 5s to hit rather than 6s. But where do we look to next? And I think the first model I like to add is the Cenari Enlightener. This is a really cool hero to add to your force. Another cool Cenari model that's going to be able to be protected by your Blade Lords. But the big thing about this is a 2 cast and 2 unbind wizard. It's got the Deep Thinker's rule, like we talked about on the Cenari Cathalar already. And then it's got its Rune of Enthlia as well, where once per turn, if this unit successfully casts a spell from the Lore of Haish, and that spell is not unbound, you can roll the dice after the effect of that spell has been resolved on a 3+, immediately resolve the effect of that spell again, though you can't target the same unit more than once. It's got its own really cool and interesting War Scroll spell called Twin Tether, where you have a casting value of 6 and a range of 12. You successfully cast it, you pick an enemy unit within range and visible, and until your next hero phase, each time a wound or mortal wound is allocated to the caster, your opponent must allocate a wound to that enemy unit. It can have some really cool effects. Now, the other unit I want to talk about next is the Vanguard Dawn Riders. They're another cool Vanguard unit that's also a wizard so long as they've got 3 or more models in the unit. They have similar rules to the Sentinels and Wardens, like the Sun Metal weapons and Power of Haish. They're also really good at taking out infantry, getting more attacks when they're fighting models with 2 or less wounds, and they also get a bonus damage on the charge as well. Now, alongside these models, the Vanari Lord region is interesting to bring in as well. Another cool character model, fast, just like your Dawn Riders can keep up with them. But the big thing for this model really comes with its Greater Power of Haish spell, where it can activate up to D3 units with their Power of Haish at once for just a 1 cast. This allows those particular units to use other spells that are available to them. And speaking of other spells, we have the endless spells for the Lumineth Realm Lords. You get a bunch of really good wizards available to you in the Lumineth Realm Lords army, and also just a ton in your units as well, thanks to the Vanari units that we've already mentioned. And so some of the endless spells are really nice. The Lumineth Realm Lords in particular give you the Sanctum of Tabletop, which can protect one of your wizards. The Hessian Twin Stones will allow you to boost your own magical ability. And the Rune of Petrification not only deals damage, but also can have some nice board control effect, activating and potentially hampering your opponent's movement and charges. And so here we have a sample army list, and the great nation we've gone for, the sub-faction we've gone for here, is Sayar. I think this is a really good sub-faction to start off with when you're learning Lumineth Realm Lords. What Sayar's cool rule is it gives you an extra piece of Aether Quartz for all your models. This combines really well with the fact we've already got a Cathlar in the army as well. But CR, getting the Aether Quartz, I think is really fun to learn the army with, because it is such a integral part of the army, your Aether Quartz, learning how to sort of use that resource well. CR just allows you to sort of have, I guess, a fallback option, gives you that little bit extra to play around with while you're learning how best to use the mechanic. And eventually, once you sort of got your hand down and you're finding you're left with extra Aether Quartz on your unit, you're not using it as much, you can swap to another sub-faction of your choice. Now, you've gone for the grand strategy of Fenrir Owls. The Lumineth Realm Lords aren't the fastest army in the world, though they do have access to some speed in different ways. The Fenrir Owls means no opposing units will be in your territory. A good one for an army that has a bunch of defensive units. Now, our leader is going to be the Incenarian Lightner we've brought into the force. They're going to be our general, and they're going to have the command trait Lawmaster, which gives them an extra 2 spells from the Law of Haish. Those 2 spells, along with our regular spell, are going to make 3 of them, so we're going to have Total Eclipse, which is just fantastic, causing our opponent to have to use 2 command points to use any commands they want. Ethereal Blessing means we can target one of our units and have them ignore positive and negative modifiers to saves. And then Protection of Haish is a nice aura of a 5-up ward save. Now, the artifact we've also put on them is the Arcane Tome as well. This is going to allow them to cast an extra spell. Really solid stuff. Now, we've got the Scenario Cathlar, and the spell we've actually gone for is one of the generic ones in here in Levitate. I really like Levitate. It allows you to get one of your units to pretty much count as if it's flying, and this can be really useful on the Dawn Riders or some of your units if you're really having to move late game. Cathlar's 9 times out of 10 going to be casting its own spell because it's so good, but having some nice utility there in Levitate in case your opponent gets screens up or is trying to block you out, zone you out of particular areas can be really, really useful. Now, battle line wise, we've gone for 2 units of Vanari Auril Wardens, a unit of Sentinels, a unit of Blade Lords, and a unit of Dawn Riders. All our units that can take a spell here are just going to take Speed of Haish. This is a really useful spell that doubles your movement. Good late game for the Sentinels and Wardens, which generally are a bit slower moving, especially those Sentinels who will sit really far backboard. This can allow them to affect the game late in the game just by doubling their movement. Of course, on the Dawn Riders, this is really good because it turns them into a 28-inch moving unit. Now, we've got 2 battalions here. Our 3 units of 10 models, so the Wardens and Sentinels, are all in Expert Conquerors, counting as 10 models, 3 models each there, so 30 models in each 10-model unit. And then we've got Bounty Hunters in the Dawn Riders and Blade Lords, upping their damage-dealing potential. We're a perfect 1,000 points, no reinforcements and no allies, 60 wounds and 7 drops down on the table. If you've got some thoughts on how to use this particular box set, let us know down in the comments below. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And also drop us a comment down below letting us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so on our Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description. If you'd like to help support the channel more, you can do so either by Patreon or YouTube members or going to our Teespring store, all of which are linked down in the video's description as well. As a special thank you to our patrons and YouTube members, we'd like to give you all a shout out. So, a special Patreon shout out to Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lyle, Our Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cader, Derek Bloobs, Benjamin Suarez, and Red Martin. And as thank you to our YouTube members as well, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny 84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink, Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, and Davis Wire. Special thanks also to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel, like you can see pictured here on this slide. Thank you once again for watching, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.